So this is Melissa,
Allison Komer,
and we are in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we're about to have a kitchen table conversation that we imagine to be happening all over the state.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, Allison?
We're talking about the biggest corruption scandal in Ohio's history, which is pretty appalling. And it was the nuclear and coal bailout for First Energy that somehow we still have coal bailouts happening, even though Ohio ratepayers really don't want it.
Yeah, right. I remember distinctly working on House Bill 6 in 2019, and you know, I've been doing organizing for 30 years, and I remember thinking, this is like nothing I've ever seen. What in the hell is going on?
Right.
And I think it's very important, ever since the news broke about the scandal, it's very important to remember that even with $61 million behind them, they got that thing passed by one vote.
Right.
It almost didn't happen.
Well, the thing that I was thinking was just like, that was really amazing to me. I mean, the fact that we were even considering bailing out these nuclear plants in the first place, because they ought to be retired. They're not in the best shape, obviously. The coal bailouts, you know, one of those coal plants is in Indiana. Why should Ohio ratepayers be paying for that? And the same thing with the coal plants. They need to be retired. So it's like, you know, if you have these businesses that are not able to have a profitable business model without being bailed out by their ratepayers, why are we just handing them money? You know, and it's mostly...
Why are they for-profit corporations?
Right?
Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like, we have to buy what they're selling. We absolutely have to. That's why they're supposed to be regulated utilities, right? But, like, if you're not making it work, why do we have to pay for your mistakes?
Yeah.
That, to me, was really bad. But then, you know, they passed it. And it, to me, was just crazy, all of the stuff that happened around trying to repeal HB6.
Oh, my God, yes. Yeah. I mean, literally, people that I knew were being offered money to give up their petitions.
Yeah.
And go home.
Right.
And it later came out, they were offering people, you know, $2,500 and a ticket to anywhere in the lower 48.
Right, to
The professionals that were hired to do the ballot initiative,
right,
which would have succeeded wildly.
Right.
If regular Ohioans had got a chance to vote on House Bill 6, oh my God, it would have been over. And
right,
they knew it.
Right.
So they put more money into this.
Right, exactly. And, you know, I mean, the stuff that I was hearing about people being harassed that were doing petitions, the lies that I got in my mailbox from it about how there was Chinese interests that were controlling it, that were just complete lies, you know. And it's like, I'm just like, how can you get away with that? And they did. They totally got away with it. And then it turns out the whole entire thing was a huge scandal. And
well, the whole entire thing was fixed from the beginning.
Right.
So here's where this coal thing really irritates me. There are two bills, one in the House and one in the Senate right now, that would repeal the coal plant bailout. One of the remaining things from House Bill 6 that's still law. It has Democratic support. It has Republican support. The governor has even said that he supports repealing the bailout. Mm-hmm. And it can't get a floor vote.
Yeah. And so why?
Why?
I mean, I think it's because they still all get money from regulated utilities.
Well, DeWine sure does.
Yeah.
DeWine sure does.
Right.
I mean, First Energy in particular, except for himself and his party, is his top campaign donor for the 3 elections prior to this current one.
Okay, except for himself. Let me say this again so make sure I understand.
He and the Republican Party have contributed more to Mike DeWine's last 3 campaigns.
And then the next.
And then the next is First Energy.
Oh wow. Okay,
so this goes back a long time. His relationship with them goes back a long, long time.
Right. So they probably lubricated his entire political career. I mean, maybe not when he was running for Greene County things, but I don't even know that that's the case. You know, I feel like if, the Speaker of the House is arrested and you find out this huge scandal's going on and you're not involved in it in any way as the governor, if you were not involved in it, you would do everything in your power to distance yourself from it. And what has he done? I mean, to me, that makes me really suspicious of exactly how much he knew.
What he's done is, first comment was, well, it's still good legislation, even though we got there in a tainted fashion.
Okay.
Remember? His first comment was defending House Bill 6 as good policy.
Except that, okay, then if he thought it was good policy, why would he sign a nuclear bailout repeal?
Well, because the tide had turned by then, and the scandal had come out.
Yeah.
And the smoke was getting thicker in his vicinity. I mean, he's been implicated in all kinds of passes for Randazzo and literally the PUCO, the stuff they've gotten away with.
Mm-hmm.
Softballing audits and investigations.
Mm-hmm.
Really, who's responsible?
Yeah.
The buck stops at the top.
Right, it does. And, he put Randazzo in that place, apparently, in the chairmanship of the Public Utilities Committee, apparently knowing that he had all of these ties with First Energy. So as all this stuff keeps coming out, I'm just like more and more suspicious every time of like, he must have been in the thick of it and knew about it all of the time. Like, I know that hasn't been alleged and I know that he hasn't been charged with anything, but like, I can't trust him as our governor to look out for Ohioans' best interests because he's clearly not serving us.
Yeah.
Because if he really believed the things that were coming out of his mouth, he would do a few things. Like, he would cut ties with the regulated utilities entirely. He would get rid of people on his staff that have ties. He would never pardon Sam Randazzo. He would promise for more transparency at the PUCO and put some people in there that actually have consumers' interests in mind. But I've seen him do none of those things. He could have condemned Larry Householder when all of this stuff came out.
Exactly.
And none of that happened. He's just like saying what you were just saying. It's still good legislation. Well, no, it's not. The only reason that it passed is because people were bribed to pass it. Like, how is that good legislation?
There was a 2 or 3 year plan before that legislation was ever introduced that First Energy and Householder cooked up. It involved getting him the speakership.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And he funneled money from First Energy to campaigns of all these other representatives and senators. And then he asked them for a leadership role, and of course they gave it to him. That was a squeaker too.
Yeah.
He almost didn't win that one.
Right. And you know what is, I think another thing that is really frustrating to me is that was a bipartisan thing too. I do feel like we need more people in the Ohio House and Senate that are really looking out for consumers and, like the whole way that the wool was just sort of pulled over some of our representatives' eyes on this, it just kind of was a demonstration to me that Ohio politics are just really corrupt at this point. And you can't see the forest for the trees if you're in there. Like anybody in their right mind would not bail out a nuclear power plant that is well beyond its life, that's losing money. Myriad of problems that Davis Bessie, for example, has had. I mean, why would we spend our money on
It's not smart. It's regressive. Like, we were on a path. We had very modest renewable energy and energy efficiency standards that had been in place and were saving people money.
Right.
And we had successfully repelled bailouts at the PUCO, at the FERC, for a couple of years.
Right.
So what happened was, First Energy was like, damn it, we're going for it.
Yeah.
We're going for it. We're putting everything we want in this wish list of a bill. We're going to let the Speaker of the House, we're going to get the governor on our side. We're just going to go for it. And they did.
Yeah. And they won.
Sort of.
In the beginning.
It's not over.
I know it's not over. They won in the beginning. They won. They got the bailout.
Yeah.
I mean, once that was passed and then once, they were able to put all this money into stopping the repeal of it, a clean repeal of HB 6. that's really disappointing that kind of stuff can go on. Not only just the level of corruption, but the ability to manipulate voters on even a citizen initiative like that to repeal HB6 is really frustrating. And, I feel like we need people in office that are going to safeguard those things, that are going to hold up those things, that are going to stop people from lying about stuff when,
people who are a little less comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
And know that they're going to be held accountable.
Right. Yeah. Like it. Yeah. So if you don't have Mike DeWine's own money and the money of the Republican Party, and your third best campaign contributor is First Energy, like, who are you going to be accountable to? Yourself, your party, and your party's leaders, and this utility. I feel like, okay, which utilities are his fourth, fifth, sixth,
Yeah.
What other industries is he accountable to? I mean, I feel like it all...
he did say that he was going to reject First Energy money for this campaign. But he said that after they had already announced that they weren't going to do any campaign.
Oh, well, that's really convenient.
So that was fine.
Not any meaning.
But really, he should say he won't take any utility money. Period.
Yeah, he should say he won't take any
and
utility money.
And he should give back what he's already got.
He should give back or donate anything that he's already got. And he should cut ties with anybody in his staff. He should fire them immediately. I mean, if he really wants Ohioans to trust him after this biggest scandal in Ohio's history, he's got to do something. He cannot sit on his hands and expect that we're just going to give him a pass for it. I mean,
It's like he doesn't even care if he looks bad. Because he does look bad.
He looks really bad. He looks really bad. He looks like a governor who serves corporate interests. The end. I don't see anything else.
Prove us wrong.
Right.
Mike DeWine.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, as this whole thing unfolds, I feel like more and more is just going to come out because it's just been one thing after another after another. I mean, it was like Larry Householder. It was like Sam Randazzo gets arrested, and then all of this other stuff comes out, and
Can you believe he hasn't been charged with anything yet?
I can't believe that.
What in the hell?
Yeah, like if, it seems to me pretty clear that he has committed crimes.
So the briber's already admitted to the bribe, but somehow the bribee not responsible?
Yeah.
Especially when he did all that, shady stuff.
Right.
Like buying property in his family's
all
name and all that real estate stuff that he then started selling after he got nabbed.
Oh,
that doesn't look bad.
Yeah. I mean, really, his assets should have been frozen. He should have been charged with something. I feel like if they got to the point where they raided his home, what? Okay, like what next? What is he charged with then? Clearly you had enough to get a warrant to raid a public official's home. Pretty big deal, right?
The gears of the justice system grind inexorably slowly. It's been slowed down by COVID. I can understand that, and I'm a patient woman. But damn it, can we please get on with it?
Right, yeah. Yeah, and I feel like, DeWine is just... Here are some of the things that make me feel like he was actually in on it. Like his daughter was walking in those same sort of footsteps that he was, going for the county seat in Greene County. And when I was looking at, the whole big scandal, like all the bubbles and everything that went everywhere and all the organizations, like the dark money organizations. One of those organizations that was a national organization, and I can't remember what it is right now, but like gave money to his daughter's political campaign, her primary campaign. And I'm like, now why in the world would this national organization give money to Governor DeWine's daughter running for an office in Greene County, Ohio.
What could they possibly gain from that?
Right. Except
Favor
if it
with the
was,
governor.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I mean, that kind of thing is what we know on the surface, like what's below all of that we don't know, you know, and it's, yeah, yeah.
Here's the thing,
I'm not going
too.
to trust him.
I know.
I don't trust him.
Here's the thing.
Or his
Here's the
family.
thing, though. We have to give him credit where credit is due, because he has stood up against his party on COVID and showed amazing leadership from the beginning, honoring science, being a cool, responsible, competent presence. He has it in him to do that.
Yeah.
We need that. We need that, Mike DeWine,
Right.
applied to this situation.
Right. We need to go back to wine with DeWine instead of crying with DeWine.
How about that?
Cheers. Well, yeah. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, like I did actually feel like, you know, like that was surprisingly refreshing for me, the way that he dealt with COVID in the beginning. I felt really good about what he did, you know, and the response that he had. And yeah, you're right. I mean, he does have it in him to stand up for something, because he did. He stood up for us for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And why isn't he now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We need him. We need him to step up and be responsible and repair some of the damage he's caused. He's got to see that he's caused damage to the people in his state.
Yeah.
And to the reputation of this state. Like, it's a wonder we got an intel or any of this other stuff that's happening after the scandal broke.
Right.
Who's going to want to come here if they know how corrupt we are? Well, there again, that's a question that answers itself. It's kind of a stupid question. I retract the argument.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, we really do need him to stand up for Ohio consumers. You know, he does have to see that this was just really, really bad scandal. It was the ugliest that we've ever had in our history. It has taken too long. You know, I mean, the Republican Party could have removed and distanced themselves from Larry Householder right away. And they didn't. They took forever. We could have had, we really could have used DeWine's leadership on that.
You know what? They never thought they would get caught. They could not have envisioned this happening. They could not compute the risk.
Yeah.
Because they think they're above the law.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I've often felt like that. I've done a lot of organizing as well, and did organizing at the State House. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I felt like, oh wow, all these people just really feel like they are better than us, and we don't register in the decisions that they're making at all. You know, I mean, how many people do you think in Ohio are clamoring for bailing out a coal company in Indiana? Any? I've talked to a lot of people about that we're bailing out a coal plant in Indiana and another coal plant.
We don't have money to extend the utility shutoff moratorium.
Yeah.
Where could that money have come from, maybe?
Yeah.
It's now $287,000 a day. It went up.
Oh, wow.
It's $287,000 a day.
Well, wait. Why did it go up?
Because the Ohio Consumers Council has like a ticker, and it compounded over time. Mm-hmm. Inflation, babe.
That's disgusting.
Inflation.
You know what I learned was that coal bailout, over the term of the whole thing, if it never gets repealed, is going to cost us more in the long run than the nuclear bailout would have. Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Okay. Well, maybe that's not right. But yeah, I was just like flabbergasted. If that's true,
How many more years can those plants even have? They were built in the Eisenhower era.
Yeah.
They've been pinned and pinned.
The answer is none. They really should have none. You know, you don't run coal plants forever. That is not what's expected when you build them. That is not the way that it should go. But for some reason here in Ohio, we think we can run these coal plants well beyond their useful life. And you know what? Like, how much does that cost us in energy efficiency?
Right.
For us as consumers, you know, I mean, my utility bills go up and up and up and up and up. This winter, I was shocked at what some of my bills were. Like, it's never been that much. Why is it so much more than it's been in previous years? And it's like, I mean, it's just really, it's very frustrating to me as somebody who like actually believes in climate change, which I feel like, well, Governor DeWine is not a person who's like a climate denier. He's not he's not out there going like climate change isn't real. He's not doing any of those things. Well, if you believe that climate change is real, why wouldn't you do everything that you can to at least help us retire these plants in Ohio and Indiana that we're paying for?
Well, they thought they were doing that by bailing out the nuke plants, remember? Because it was sold to us as a clean air bill at first.
No.
Yeah, they only added the coal plants at the end. But first, when it was all new, and remember the commercial barrage that started at that time?
Yeah.
And it was all about how this is a clean air, clean renewable energy.
Right.
Our future.
No. I'm sorry, but you may be able to convince me at some point in my life that modern nuclear power, for some reason, is possibly better than energy efficiency or renewable energy or whatever. Probably not. But I could say for sure that old, decrepit nuclear power plants are not the way to go for energy. Mm-hmm. They're way too expensive. They're being propped up beyond their useful life. And if the company can't figure out how to make a profit when they have a monopoly, basically, they have consumers, we have to buy the power. If that's where we live and that's where we get power, we have to buy it. So it's like people don't have a choice. The energy companies do have a choice. And if they're making the wrong choices, we should not be the ones paying for it. Their shareholders should be the ones paying for it.
Right.
The end, to me. We own a business. I don't get to just be like, oh, I'm going to get a bailout from...
I should apply to the county
I should apply for a government bailout.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't happen with the small businesses I know. Now, there were obviously funds for like COVID relief and stuff like that. Thank goodness for small businesses. But, you know, it's just like...
That's not how the system's set up.
No, it's set up to give billions of dollars
to the shareholders.
To the biggest... Yeah, exactly.
And the C-suite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, I think one of the things that really bothers me as well is that, you know, we didn't have great renewable energy standards and energy efficiency standards to begin with. We had some, and they were okay, you know, but they were really not the most ambitious that we could have been.
Not even as ambitious as our neighbors.
No, not. I mean, what I remember was when those were passed, they were kind of like the easiest among a couple of states in the country to be able to meet. And despite that, like, we were on our way to making some progress on meeting those. And now it's like, to me, it's not just that we need to get rid of the coal bailouts. It isn't just that we needed to get rid of the nuclear bailouts. We need to actually have a vision for energy in Ohio. We need to be doing energy efficiency like it's our job to do.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
It is the low-hanging fruit. It's like the easiest thing to do. The city of Cincinnati has done a really great job of evaluating all of the ways in which that we could do energy efficiency here, where we could do it for the city buildings. We could do initiatives to like
a citizens audit.
Yeah, where we can help regular people do the best that they can. Yeah. We have all those things happening, and, you know, like, why aren't we focused on those things? Why aren't we moving into the 21st century? If Governor DeWine is really not a climate denier, is really actually concerned about what might happen to us, because we will have impacts from climate change. We already do here in Ohio. If he was really serious about any of those things and wants it to be clean, you know, if he really believes in what he said about the nuclear bailouts, why aren't we also focusing on renewable and energy efficiency?
Right. Well, why are we not at least not undercutting what already exists? Like the wind setback thing, and then Senate Bill 52 happened, and
what's Senate Bill 52?
Senate Bill 52 is the one where they say they're adding another layer of regulation to renewable energy projects, so that locals have the opportunity to scuttle and veto them, even if they've already been approved by the Ohio Power Siting Board, which does a pretty thorough analysis.
Well, you know,
but you know what they can't do? They can't do the same thing with oil and gas anywhere else in the state.
Yeah, that doesn't happen with pipelines.
No, it sure as hell didn't. But we're actually creating more obstacles to renewable energy all the time in Ohio under Mike DeWine.
Right. Yeah. So you want clean air, and you're not actually doing anything for policies that would actually give us that.
Yeah. And he's a grandpa, you know, he has family in the state. I think he genuinely, literally, really does love people in Ohio. He loves Ohio in his way. He's not able to see this. It's a blind spot for some reason. He doesn't understand what the impacts of those decisions really are. Not even today, I don't think. He's got this cognitive dissonance or something operating that lets him know he's a good guy, and this damage is not his fault. Or maybe it's not even damage.
Well, it is. It is, though. I mean, how many people do you think in the state die every year from something related to coal plant pollution?
Or heat related?
Or not having an air conditioner in the summer.
Yeah.
Or not having any power during a global pandemic. I mean, people in Ohio have really been struggling.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in Ohio are living in poverty. And, you know, with the child tax credit going away at the beginning of this year, you know, a lot of the people who for a very brief moment in time have been lifted out of poverty, just barely, are probably having to go back to, do I pay for groceries, or do I pay to have the air conditioner running and my kid's got asthma?
Or do I pay to bail out a coal plant in another state?
Yeah. It just seems like every time you turn around, we're doing something to just hand money to regulated utilities.
Up the food chain. All kinds of places. Yeah. And that's the one that stings the most. You know, because people can't live without water. They can't live without utilities.
Right.
And when our society is struggling as much as we have in a generation, I can think of nothing harder I've gone through in my life than the pandemic. You?
No. And, you know, just when you think it's getting better, it gets worse again, and you're like, oh my God. And, you know, somehow, like, I financially made it through that. And I feel lucky and, like, blessed to be able to say that, you know, but to not have worried about putting a roof over my head during that time. Like, I feel privileged in that respect, but I know that's not the case. And it's for a lot of Ohioans. And here we're being nickel and dime to death. I've heard that personally from people who are struggling to pay these things. We are being nickeled and dimed to death.